This conference will now be recorded.
Fine. Thanks everyone for joining this first session, first overview session on the K6 performance testing tool. I'm Satish. I have close to 15 years of experience across performance testing, performance engineering, and product development. I've been with Isha for last 2 to 3 years. Been taking performance engineering course, end user experience, and couple of more other courses. And case is something we started last year. Okay. So that's a very quick introduction about me. What we are going to do today is I'm just going to provide you the overview on the course content. What are all topics we are going to cover? What is that we are going to learn over the next a couple of weeks? And so that you get a clarity on what is that you're going to learn from this these sessions. Okay. And I guess most of you would have joined or probably already doing something on performance testing, either with Jmeter or LoadRunner or Gatling or whatever it is, right? And just a very quick introduction about the tool itself, right? Uh, predominantly last decade or so, LoadRunner used to be the go-to tool for any performance testing requirement, right? A very good and commercial tool. Even today, they are in top two or top three still. Okay. And from an open source tool perspective, Jmeter is on the top very easily for last 3, 4, 5 years, and it is continuing to do so. So LoadRunner and Jmeter are easily the top two tools even today. Right? And there were a lot of other tools came into the market, Neoload, Soasta, Gatling, a lot more tools came into the market, and for various reasons. Okay, um, being a commercial tool, LoadRunner is doing a very good job, obviously, but from a cost wise, yes, it's definitely. If you go look into the enterprise solution or a large medium customers, they still go and prefer LoadRunner for the kind of stability it provides, kind of protocol it supports, right? But people still have money to invest in these kind of commercial tools. But last over 3, 4 years, with DevOps, with the developer community itself moving towards a lot of open source softwares, right? Open source softwares and tools. Even it reflected in the performance testing or testing area as well, and then that is why we saw a lot of people started using Jmeter, especially when it comes to your web and web services. And Jmeter does a decent job, though it is not. You cannot compare that with a commercial tool. It does the job very properly. And now, last 2 to 3 years, I would say, we could see something called K6, which is something really interesting, something preferred by the developers for a few reasons. Okay, originally it was from something called Load Impact. Load Impact is a team who developed this K6, and it is now acquired by Grafana. Okay? Yeah, most of you might have heard the word Grafana one way or the other. Right? It is one of the most used visualization platform, open source, again, open source dashboarding solution or visualization, whatever you call it. The Grafana acquired K6, I think maybe a year back. Okay, so this combination of now K6 and Grafana, that is one of the reason it picked up the speed. And second is more developers likes this tool. The reasons are: number one, If you've seen last few years again, from our architecture perspective, uh, uh, now from a monolithic, from uh, um, fat client, right? Now everything is moving into a microservices, right? So when it comes to microservices architecture, K6 is something very very widely used by developer by themselves. They create the services, they create the microservices, and they want to do the testing by themselves as part of the unit performance testing. Okay, K6 being a, um, a tool where you write script in the JavaScript, right? So in LoadRunner, if you remember, the scripting language, default scripting language is C, right? Though you don't need to know C language, I would say 90% of performance testing testers like you and me wouldn't have had knowledge about C when we started using the LoadRunner tool, right? It's all functions, your web functions, LR functions, and in between, for doing error handling, for doing some enhancements, string handling, and all, we might have used the some of the reusable C functions. Okay. Similarly, K6, the scripting language is JavaScript. You write the script in JavaScript, and that is why the developers likes it, because it's their own language, right? Developers develop their software in Java or JavaScript mostly, so it is something very easy for them. If you go and show the LoadRunner script or Jmeter script to developers, they never like it, right? Because they have to learn something and do it. But since it is a JavaScript, it is their own way of doing it, so they like it. So they create the microservices, they create a JavaScript based K6 script, they run it as part of the unit. So from there, the tool got evolved, the tool got into the market, the tool was used by many of the microservices teams. Okay, there's one of the reason K6 has picked up the speed. It is getting more attractive in most of the places. Second is, when it comes to um, load testing, we all would have heard about load generators, right? Where the actual load is pumped. So you have a load runner controller, you will have 10 load generators, or in Jmeter you have master and couple of slaves. Okay, so K6 by itself is a very very lightweight tool, which means the number of load generators that you need would be comparatively less when it compared to Jmeter or LoadRunner. Right? The footprint, the memory footprint of your K6 script is in such a way that, say for example, if we want to run 10,000 load, I might just need 3 or 4 load generators, or even maybe 2 or 3. When it compared to a JMeter or LoadRunner, you might need 10 or 12. Okay, considering you have 80 gram and 4 CPU, for example, that's how the K6 footprint allows you to use minimal number of load generator. So from a capacity perspective, K6 is going to help in minimizing the number of load generators. So with all these combination, especially for your API, web services, microservices, kind of a load testing, stress testing, K6 is something preferred in a lot of places. Okay, still it is not on par with the JMeter usage or LoadRunner usage, but people are now started looking into K6 as a very good alternate solution. And in that perspective, it is always good to, if at all you are already doing something in LoadRunner or JMeter, or even if you are new to performance testing, K6 is something you can start learning as one of the tool. Okay, so whoever there in the call, you might have already done some scripting execution in LoadRunner, or somebody will be doing something in Jmeter, or if you're new to performance testing as well, then K6 is not a bad option at all. At least it is going to be relevant. See, you never know about the future, right? A lot of these tools will be good, very exciting, but the longevity depends upon a lot of factors. But at least for next 2 to 3 years, we can have a safely say that yes, K6 is going to be something talked about. If you are going to put in your resume, you know already LoadRunner or Jmeter, and you also know K6, that is something definitely going to attract the teams. Okay. Um, hey, Vivek, can you go on mute? I could see some good music from somebody. Can you please go on mute? Yeah, thank you. So this I'll come back later about the footprint comparison. Um, even the Jmeter versus K6, I'll come back to this comparison later. See, if you have already worked on these LoadRunner or Jmeter, conceptually, right? Conceptually, every tool is going to be the same, right? You take any load testing tool, you have to understand the requirement, understand the critical transactions, critical business flow. Then you have to you have to record the script. If it is a UI based flow, you need to record it, obviously. Or if it is a web services, microservices, you can just go and look into the your documentation, API documentation. You can go and write those get method or post method or put method. So scripting, recording and scripting is going to be the first thing. And then you go and enhance it, you parameterize it, you correlate it, you do a error handling, right? All these things are going to be part of your next action. And third is you run the script, making sure that it works fine for one user. And then you go and do the load test, and then you need reports to analyze it. Right? So scripting, debugging, enhancing, execution. While execution, you need to monitor the test, and then once the test is completed, you need to analyze it and have a report. All these things are all the standard thing that we do it from a performance testing, irrespective of the tool. You to go to any tool, this is not going to change at all. This process is not going to change. How are you going to do it is what our part is what is going to do it, right? In LoadRunner, you will have Vusion and you will have controller to do executions. You have analysis to look into the reports. In Jmeter, it is different. In Gatling, it is different. In NewLoad, it is different. But the concepts are not going to be that difficult, that different. Which means if you are already good in one tool, it is going to make your job easy to go into the another tool because concepts are going to be same. So it is not something you're going to start learning from the scratch, right? Just need to understand how K6 handles all these aspects, and then you'll be able to go and create those scripts and use it for your projects. So I'll come back to you maybe a little later about exact comparison. What is the difference between K6 and Jmeter? Where K6 works fine, where Jmeter works fine. Probably we'll look into it later because once you know about K6, once you know how do you do, then I think it will be easy for you to do a comparison on your own itself. Okay, fine. Now coming to the course content. Okay, the course content is going to be on a sequence of what I already said, right? First, next session, we will be looking into the key components of K6. When I say components, people who know LoadRunner, they know there is a Vusion, there is a controller, there is an analysis engine, there is a load generator. All these are all components, right? So similarly, we'll try to understand what are the different components of K6. Where do you do the scripting? How do you do the scripting? What are the softwares required? What are the installation you have to do? All these things we'll look into it as part of the introduction, the installation, configuration, components of K6. That's the basics, right? That is where we are going to start looking into the K6 as a tool. So that is going to be the first part that we will cover. And once we have the required softwares, required tool, then we will start with the microservices, web services scripting, right? For that, what we will do is we will look into the one of the real-time microservice project. Okay, petstore .swagger.io. So this petstore.swagger.io, I'll open that link as well shortly. It will have all the your typically what happens. You work in a project, your developers will develop 10, 20, 30 services, and then you get the documentation of saying what are those post calls, what are the get calls, what is the your request will look like, sample request, sample response, your body, all these things will be there in the documentation. So we'll start with the script development for microservices. We'll try to understand how we construct those scripts, how do we go and write those JavaScript based script. Okay, and then we'll go into the parameterization, how to do parameterization, how to do correlation, how to do error handling. So again, typical scripting, right? Nothing changes. You take any tool, this thing has to be done. We will see how we will be doing it in the K6 practically, of course. Second, then we'll move into the UI, where you have a web interface. You open the Chrome, launch the URL, you do a login, do screen 1, screen 2, screen 3. You have a flow. It's not just a single API, it is a business flow. For that, we will see how to do the recording and then how to do the enhancements. So we'll look into two, we'll consider a couple of URLs. One, I have my own Java application, e-library application, that we will use it. Second is something K6 by themselves provide a web URL called ecommerce.test.k6 for our practice, for our learning. Okay, so we'll use this for our. I'll quickly go into that and show you both this documentation and the e-commerce tool. So this is a Swagger documentation, a typical documentation of what you will get it from your developer, saying these are the your put calls, get calls, post calls, right? And then if you expand it, you'll know how this sample request and response are going to be. This as an input is what you will take it, and then you go and create your script. So this is the requirement document for you for when it comes to microservices. This is going to be your requirement document. With this, you have to go and write your script. Okay? So this we will use it for our practical learning of microservices based scripting, and then for UI we will use this definitely. This is a kind of an e-commerce site. Okay, it will have view card, add to cart, login, search, all these things. We'll use this, and as well as I have my local Java application, that as well we will use it. Okay, so this starting with the script development, we'll look into microservices, and then followed by your user interface or web-based application. Okay, so once both the scripting aspect is done, then we'll move on to the execution. How do you do the execution? How do you create the scenarios? So you all might have know how do you create scenarios in LoadRunner, right? The runtime settings, SLAs, giving the number of users, ramp up, ramp down, all these things are part of your scenario settings and runtime settings. So we'll try to learn how do we define those scenarios, how do we define those runtime settings, spacing, think time, number of users, ramp up, ramp down, all these things we'll try to learn. In K6, how do we do it? And then K6 as two things. One is open source. Yes, you can use your own machines, you can install K6 and you can do the execution in local. Nobody is going to stop you doing it. You don't need to pay any money. But if you want to make use of K6 Cloud, they also provide you the SaaS option. They provide you the load generators. Okay, you create a script in your local and you can execute it in their K6 Cloud. For that, of course, you need to pay money because we are going to make use of their load generators, right? So we'll also see how to create those scenarios in cloud and how to run those in cloud. Okay. And then, of course, we'll look into how to analyze the reports, analyze the results, what are the reporting options available, what are the result monitoring options available. We will look into it in detail when it comes to execution. We also will look into since it is now bought by Grafana by themselves, right? It is going to be even more easy to do the monitoring of your test. See, if you're not going to use this as option, you need option for monitoring your live load test, right? If you remember, Jmeter by default don't have a live monitoring similar to what you have in LoadRunner controller. That is one of the uh, drawback. But there's an option always in Jmeter. You can add some listeners and you can monitor the test using Grafana. Similarly, in K6 also, you would be able to uh, your test runs. You will be able to monitor it using in Grafana. So we'll also see how to integrate K6, InfluxDB, and Grafana. That's a combination. K6 will run the test. It will send the data to InfluxDB. InfluxDB will store this data, and then from InfluxDB you can connect to Grafana, and Grafana you will be able to look into all the hits per second, throughput, your response time, all these metrics you'll be able to look into it. So we'll also look into the K6 Grafana integration as part of the reporting. Okay. And since it's a JavaScript, right? It's like in LoadRunner, I told you might be writing some function in C, right? For string handling, string concatenation, some random parameterization, randomizing the correlated values. A lot of places you might need to write some code in LoadRunner as well, right? Similarly, in K6, we'll try to see what all utilities are there, what all functions are there, like picking the random items, finding something in between, random strings, exception handling, all these K6 related JavaScript functions and utilities we'll try to learn so that it will be easy for you to implement that based on the need. Okay, we'll use this as well in our scripting enhancements. We'll also try to find out the need for this. We'll also implement these functions anyway, but at a separate topic we'll look into all the utilities and functions. What are the use? We'll practically go and implement this utilities, these code, so that we know when a situation arises, there are functions available for you to use it. So what are those functions? What's the need? And how are we going to implement it? All these things we will be looking into it as part of the K6 utilities and function. And one more interesting thing is end user experience, right? You all know LoadRunner, Jmeter, all these server side performance they validate, right? K6 also by default it will validate only the your server side component. Okay, it is going to bombard your server with concurrent request, login, search, registration, checkout. All these things will be fired in from the load generators. But it is not going to mimic the actual. You and me going to open the Amazon.com. You're going to open it in the Chrome and then do a login. Our response time, the way we will experience might be 6 seconds, 7 seconds. But when we do a load testing using these tools, it's just going to look into the server side performance. Right? There is always going to be a difference between what an actual end user experience versus a load testing result. So it is important for us to understand, know about this end user experience, how it is measured, why it is measured, how it is measured. We'll try to get into some basics of end user experience, client side performance, and then we will try to understand how we can use K6 to measure the end user experience as well. They have a add-on which we can use it to measure the end user experience as well. So it is going to be a combination. We'll still do a load testing using the traditional way, using all the scripting execution, the way we are going to learn using K6. Plus, we'll also use other way of measuring the end user experience. So it is going to be a combination. Okay, so we'll learn how to some of the basics of UI scripting, right? Your server side scripting is all request and response. You do correlation, you do parameterization, the request and response. But in the UI based scripting, it is all click. You click a button, you enter something, you do a submit. It's all UI based. So there has to be some basics we have to understand about the UI object. We call it as a locator, and then we'll see how to create the end user experience script. Scripting for server-side testing is different. Scripting for your end user measurement is different. So we'll also learn how to create the end user experience scripting, and then the execution as well. Okay. Additional topics, yes. As I said, K6 integration with InfluxDB and Grafana. We'll look into it, and there are some informations that we can try to understand that K6 offers, right? From a Swagger, we can directly convert that into without even you write a code. There are few workaround for you to create a script automatically. So those things we'll look into it. Those are not really going to be very much useful, but it is good to know that there are options available. Okay, and we'll also look into some of these JavaScript basics. Though it is not mandatory for you and me to know JavaScript a lot. We're not going to become a developer, right? It's not our intention also. But it is always good to know a few basics about JavaScript, so that, like C language, again I go back to LoadRunner. None of us would have known C a lot, right, when we created the LoadRunner script. But as you move on, as you learn LoadRunner further, you might have handled a lot of C functions. Similarly, in this course, we will look into some of the basics of JavaScript that is essential for you to know, so that you can write better K6 scripts. That is the intention of this. So these are the topics which we are going to cover in the next a few weeks. Okay, so I'll stop it here. Again, these are the softwares which we might be installing it. K6, of course, we'll use the Visual Code. Visual Code is the editor, like Vuegen, right? Vuegen, you write a script in Vuegen. In Jmeter, you have a Jmeter GUI component where you go and create the script. Similarly, we will use the Visual Studio Code for writing the case scripts. Okay, so this is software, something that is required for you to be installed in your machine. K6, of course, will download it and install it. You would need InfluxDB, you need Grafana, okay, and you will also be need to have an account in the K6. Okay, so K6, you can go and create an account by with your Gmail, and you'll get a login like this, right? App.k6.io. You will get your own account for your usage. From here, you can go and create a script. You can execute it. So all these things we'll look into in detail anyway. So you need Visual Code for you to do a scripting offline from in your laptop. You would need account in K6 Cloud. You can create it using Gmail, so that you can go and create a script. You can do a recording, you can do a scripting, you can do an execution, you can look into the reports. All these things you can do it on your own in the K6 Cloud as well. Okay, and all these things we'll be looking into in detail in the next session. But anyway, just wanted to give you the very high level overview on what components we are going to use it. Okay, I'll take a pause here, guys. If you have any questions, any doubts, any clarification, feel free to ask. The course schedule will be between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. the same time that we connected today. Okay, I'll take a pause. There's a question. Will you also cover any framework? Jaya, can you probably expand your question? What do you mean by framework? If you can put it in the chat, or if you can just voice over, that's also fine. What do you mean by framework? The sessions, the first session will start from Wednesday. Today is Monday, Monday evening IST. The first session is going to start from Wednesday. We'll give a day break tomorrow for the people to get enrolled, and from Wednesday will get started. Okay, in between, whoever is going to get enrolled, I'll also provide you the two things. One is the Google Drive. People who are going to get registered, I'll provide you this K6 Drive, where they will have all the softwares like Visual Code, Tomcat, the K6, InfluxDB, Grafana, and all the scripts, whatever scripts we are going to create it. One for the parameterization examples, script enhancements, correlations, the validations, all these scripts as well. It will be uploaded here. It's already there, which you can also use it for your reference. Not even now, even for the future as well. Okay. So I'll provide you the drive access once you get registered, so that you can go and use the software to install it in your mission. So to answer the question, we'll start the sessions from Wednesday. Okay. Course schedule, time and start date. Yes, as I said, it is going to be between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. IST, and it is going to start from Wednesday, and it will go for say 10 to 12 days approximately. It can go plus or minus 1 or 2, not minus. Yeah, 10 to 12 days of session starting from Wednesday. Okay. Does it support all technologies like SAP and Salesforce? Okay. Today, all the microservices, web services, REST APIs, it is very straightforward. It is going to be very easy, and case is going to do a lot of good things when it comes to web services. When it comes to UI, apart from this cost product like Salesforce or SAP, right? Other web-based application, yes, you can do a record and replay. You can do recording enhancement. It's going to work. When it comes to Salesforce again, it's the concepts are same. You're going to do a recording. If it is going to be over the web, going to be over the browser, SAP web, it is going to support. Salesforce, I believe one of the Salesforce definitely is going to be over the web. It is going to get supported. Correlation, of course, the same challenges, same complexity, whatever we get it from Jmeter or LoadRunner, it's going to be same. Nothing is going to change. From a capability perspective, yes, it will support. From a complexity perspective, the same complexity what you will face it when you're going to do a scripting for Salesforce in Jmeter or LoadRunner. Same thing you're going to face it in the K6 also. So which means anything over the browser, yes, it will support. All the recordings, yes, recording from today till the end, all the recordings will be available in YouTube for you privately, and you'll get access to the videos ever. There's no end date at all. Every day, today 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. after the session is completed, you will get the recording by next day, middle of next day. By afternoon tomorrow, you will get the recording. You just need we have to wait for half a day next day to get the recording, and all the recordings will be available permanently for you.
Yeah, Satish.
Yeah, please go ahead.
What do you prefer? Like, if I don't know anything about performance testing, do you prefer me to do K6 first, or should I start from Jmeter, LoadRunner, and then K6?
So when you say you don't know anything about performance testing, I can probably connect with you offline and know better. If you're very, very new to performance testing itself, right? You have to start with some tool.
I know the basics, but I don't know about Jmeter and LoadRunner. I'm directly doing.
Yeah, not required.
For speaking, you always saying that you might have known Jmeter and LoadRunner, which I keep on listening that. So what do you prefer me?
Okay. See, I was comparing it because I believe most of the other people might have done something on Jmeter. So always I wanted to just correlate with that Jmeter or LoadRunner so that they can easily understand this. But if you ask me whether Jmeter or LoadRunner is a prerequisite, absolutely no. Because everything is a different tool. If you have done Jmeter or LoadRunner, concepts are not going to be new for you. Concepts are same. Any tool, these concepts are same. But definitely, I will not call it as a prerequisite. But it would be easy for them to pick it up. It would be little difficult for you to do it. But again, if you want to go back to Jmeter, learn Jmeter, again that is going to have its own challenge, right? Any new tool, it's going to have a challenge. So you have to start somewhere for the first time. And K6 is something you can always start. It doesn't matter if you
Yeah.
if you already know something, it will be better. If you don't
Okay.
know about the tools, you have to start with some tool. So you are going to face same challenges with any tool. So it is not a prerequisite.
Okay. Okay. So I can start with this K6 also, and your content is also very much
Correct.
equal to persons who are starting with K6.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. That is it is a K6. This course is for the beginners only. Okay.
No.
So it won't be like that where I'll keep referring to Jmeter or LoadRunner. I'll still refer it so that others can pick it up easily, but you will not feel any impact because of that.
That's good. Thanks.
Yeah. Any limitation for virtual user support? No. As I said, in fact, it is going to be even more better than other Jmeter or LoadRunner from a capacity perspective. There is absolutely no limitations. Limitations are bounded by your infrastructure only, not with the K6 as such. Obviously, if you want to go and do a say 50,000, 80,000, 100K, then you have to have a very big infrastructure for your Grafana or InfluxDB, right? That will be difficult for you to maintain. That is why K6 offers you the K6 over the cloud also. They will take care of the load generators. They will take care of the infrastructure, and you can go and run it for as many users you want. So there is no known limitation with respect to the virtual users. Limitation in K6 today, the protocol support is limited. Okay, whatever the protocol that you see it in Jmeter or LoadRunner, you might not see those support in K6. Okay, but most of the places, 80% we look into web services, microservices, right? HTTP protocol, which is something is going to be get supported for sure. Okay, um, but the when you look into the protocol support by LoadRunner or Jmeter, that is something your K6 will not have it. But again, as you said, 80-90% of the time we will still go into a load testing on your web and web services. So we are good, but that is a one of the limitation I would say. Okay. So if you have any questions, guys, any clarification you need, you can also drop these questions in the WhatsApp group. Or if you wanted to connect offline also, we can connect over the call if you have any more questions or clarifications. And for any registration related questions, you can reach out to um, Kumar sir. Okay, for the payment related questions or registration related questions, you can reach out to them. And course is going to get started from Wednesday, the same time. Okay, this recording will be available tomorrow. Once again, thanks for your time. If there are any questions, probably will give a minute before we can close this call. Okay, there are no questions. Thank you, guys. Thanks again for your time. We will meet you all on Wednesday.